What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today is the 26th of September and we just got a brand new hotfix for the First Descendant. This patch essentially adds quite a few things which the community has been waiting for, as well as some really good quality of life changes which I think we've all kind of like been asking for a while. So it's good to finally see it in the game. I'm going to go through all of the highlights. Of course, I will link in the description all of the patch notes themselves. There's quite a few of it, but I'll definitely be showing you the most important things from this patch. Let's go. So as mentioned, this patch was released on Thursday the 26th of September. As you can see here, this is a maintenance free patch, so you can just download the patch itself and you're good to go. The first one is a big one, and this is one that people have been asking for since forever, and that's the ability to actually group up to do the invasions in the game, which is of course the season 1 mechanic. Now, this mechanic has been heavily altered since when it was launched at the beginning of season 1. First of all, with the difficulty and some of the mechanics inside it being adjusted, and then with the promise of that we would further on in season 1 see the ability to actually queue up with other people and also play this. So basically what they do mention here is that the number of monsters increases based on participants. So 4 people playing has more than 2 people playing. And pretty much there's also some other small changes here where just the terrain has been altered and that sort of stuff. But this is basically the gist of it. So when you go queue up for one, you can simply say infiltration operation hard, and as usual you'll select everything that you do here. And then at this point in time here, and I can just move my face a little bit to the right here, well actually to the left, you can see that you can now queue up still privately if you want to do it yourself, which in certain cases might still be quicker, or you can do it as a public operation and you'll actually be matched up with other people. And this will certainly help. Like for example, I believe this one is one of these fat 9-minute ones, this one over here. So like for instance, this stuff is bound to be easier to do in a group. Plus, if you still have buddies that are playing the game with you, of course it's always more fun doing it with friends. Then the next thing for us to look at is of course some pretty massive changes to Freyna, Kyle and Esiemo. So all 3 of these descendants have received quite a bit of tweaking, in the case of Freyna quite a lot actually, to their skills. And this would pretty much be in line with obviously getting Freyna ready for Ultimate Freyna coming out, but I think also addressing just some of the issues with Kyle as well as Esiemo. Now, there's a lot of stuff for us to go through here, and I absolutely obviously invite you to go look at it yourself and read through it, but I will basically give you the TLDR version of the changes that you can expect in each one of these descendants. So first things first, if we focus on Freyna, one of the things that you have to understand about Freyna's kit is it's pretty much all about room 0 trauma, which is essentially like an effect that it's a dot that, you know, deals damage and everything like that. Now the thing with room 0 trauma is that its effect that it used to cause was poison. And the problem with that is that, first of all, if you have things which are immune to poison or have extremely high resistances to poison, it basically means that Freyna is extremely ineffective against those descendants. Against those bosses. And it definitely seems like the Deathstalker, the new boss which we are getting with October 10th patch, is going to be a toxic based, or rather a poison based Void Intercept boss. So it would be pretty crazy for them to release Ultimate Freyna and then basically make this boss be the perfect foil to Ultimate Freyna, kind of like diminishing the need for people to get Ultimate Freyna to fight this new boss. But with the changes that they've made to Freyna now, it actually is quite the opposite. I think Freyna might potentially be really powerful against this Void Intercept boss, regardless of the fact that Freyna is generally considered to be a toxic, you know, character, pardon the pun. So now the main point here is that you'll notice underneath each of these skills, the new words, the new keywords have come into play. So if we look, for instance, on a Venom Trauma, we can see that there's an additional effect that Venom Trauma causes called Panic. You'll see it at the very bottom of the list there. Then you'll see that, for instance, Defense Mechanism can cause something called Despair. And you can see that Putrid Venom can cause something called Putrid. You can see it at the bottom there as well. And you'll notice that each one of these effects has its own skill power modifier, as you can see there. They're all the same though, but I mean, if you look at Putrid Venom, you see it's like 174.6, 174.6, 174.6. So they all have skill power modifiers and they all deal damage. They're all basically dots. But what this change to Freyna does is it actually takes her one dot that she used to have, which was poison basically, or toxic, and it changes it into 4 different dots, and then including the original dot, which is Toxic Reaction, which can also go into, which is basically coming from a passive. That means that if my calculation is correct, and if you can get all of the skills on at the same time, you're looking at upwards of 5, unless it folds some of the dots in, but you're looking between 4 to 5 dots that can tick on the enemy at the same time. And you can kind of like test that already here. So like what we can do is we can hit him with the Q. You'll see now the dots will start adding up. That's 2 dots running on the enemy already. Then we can hit him with another one. Now you can see there's 3 dots on there. Now there's 4 dots on there. And then as soon as I activate my final skill, which is the gun, then of course you'll be able to see that there's even a 5th kind of dot that can actually go on there. So this is a pretty fundamental, huge change to Freyna's kit, and basically turns her into a dot monster. I gotta say, it's something that I really like for her, and it's going to be interesting to see, what that allows us to do in terms of power level for this character, and basically allowing her to, just let dots and everything like that be the main way that she can deal damage. She's already been fantastically good at mobbing because of the way that her dots work, and this is just obviously going to make that even stronger. But what is what we should now see, and of course I'll be testing in the next couple of days as the change just went live now, is whether you can actually increase the damage of these dots to such a point where these dots are actually very effective against extremely large life pools as well, like for example what you get with Void Intercept bosses. Then next up we have Kyle. Some changes were made to Kyle as well, not quite as many as we saw with Freyna, but still nonetheless we have quite a few here. Pretty much I would say the majority of Kyle's changes are working around his resource mechanic called Magnetic Force. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that my experience playing Kyle is fairly limited. I have maybe 4 to 5 hours with the character at level 40, where I have all of the abilities and I can test things. So my experience is fairly limited. But that being said, Kyle is one of those heroes that has a secondary resource, right? And this is called Magnetic Force. And basically Magnetic Force builds up by you using your abilities against enemies. You can see it's increasing at the bottom there. And then Magnetic Force is also something that actually empowers your other abilities and lets you deal more damage with them. His kit is basically consists of things that allow you to shield characters. You can make a nice big AoE explosion like that. And then of course his ulti is that Superman flight that you fly into enemies. But nonetheless, if we go back to the patch notes here, you can see that the majority of them essentially work around the fact that they wanted to make it easy for you to gain Magnetic Force, thereby making him more powerful because you use this Magnetic Force to deal damage. And then also they want to give you the ability to have more ways of playing and not be so worried about it cooling down faster or something like that. So just in general, I think this is probably maybe the first step in a few steps for Kyle. He has a very unique kit. And of course, Kyle was the Descendant that was responsible for that one-shot kill mechanic on Gluttony, which I think anybody that's been with the game for a while will know. It was like about 3 days or something when Kyle was the most sought after Descendant in the First Descendant. But and definitely this patch doesn't, at least not so far in my testing. My god, it'll be interesting if after me releasing this video somebody's already broken the game again with Kyle. I'm open to it, but at least in my testing so far, there's nothing to the levels of what we saw with Kyle then. But this is definitely a step in the right direction with just opening up his playstyle a little bit. Like things like you get far more, like magnetic thrust now when you hit stuff with that shove. You can also just do it just by not actually hitting anything, and you'll actually get some magnetic thrust as you saw there. So just overall some quality of life for him, which makes him play a little bit easier than he was. I mean, this is him currently now, and should probably or hopefully make him a little bit more attractive for people to try out, and not just this one trick pony that basically got fixed after he was extremely naughty. And then the last one out of the 3 which were attended to in this hot fix or in this patch is Esiemo. And Esiemo, I would say probably the biggest 2 issues with Esiemo is the fact that his kit as a whole just does not deal enough damage, which is something that they've tried to address it. So you'll see that a bunch of these are basically saying that you have increase the damage based on number of bombs. Cluster bomb, the damage of cluster bomb now increases based on the number of bombs. So basically his toolkit works like this. So you've got a shoulder launcher that basically launches these mines onto enemies, and you can then use his second ability to detonate those mines, and that'll deal a lot of damage. Now that damage is not great, it's not shit, but it's not great compared to what we see with the other Descendants. But then I would say the secondary thing which is upsetting about Esiemo is his animations that take so long, like for example the running around and doing like things like this and so on. And then if you do this, which is where he plants a mine on the ground, and then it kind of like shoots out to the nearest enemy. And then of course this ability, which is his ultimate, and then this used to, for instance, have a massive time that it took to basically prime to get ready. So what you're looking at here is the new footage. This is me playing now after the hotfix, and if you've been playing Esiemo, you'll notice that it's significantly faster deploying his abilities now. So his Q is faster, this is faster. All of these abilities can now be used while moving, while rolling, while doing all that stuff. And his prime on his fourth ability, on his Z ability, it goes a lot faster now into the mode where he's actually running. So this used to take almost forever. Like he would basically stand open like a sumo stance and then put his leg down and only then start running. So they've addressed the fact that he felt very cumbersome and ungainly and kind of slow as well. And you can also see that here where it's mentioned things like you can now use a skill while moving. Let me see where else. There was something else here. Projectile speed has been increased, can be used while sprinting. So they've definitely tried to address the fact that he felt like kind of limited in a way. Like he had all these cool abilities and you need to be able to move around the battlefield and shoot mines off your shoulder and then fucking detonate them and then do all your stuff, but everything felt so really slow that it was really like not fun to play. Now, again, I've just been goofing around with him for about 10-15 minutes now, so it's obviously way too early to tell, but from a movement perspective and from enjoying him, it's already a step in the right direction for me, so I would say W changes. I do, however, feel like the same with Kyle. We're probably going to see another small sort of like pass on Esiemo, but then again, it might be way too early for me to say something like that because I do need to obviously put some more modules in here and do some thorough testing. And of course, I'll be doing that in the coming days. Then we also have two brand new mods that have been added to the game with this hotfix. These two mods are both specifically suited for stacking shields or using shields. So we know that there's three kinds of ways that you can defend your character in the game, or that you can stack your ability to survive damage. HP is by far the best, followed closely by defense, and then we have shield in as kind of like the straggler, which has recently received some love. And I think they're trying to make this a more viable way to also play your character. And these two mods that have been added definitely play into that. But both of these mods are ultimate mods, and you can basically see them here. The first one's called No Retreat, and the second one's called Biosync Shield. There's actually a bunch of ways that you can get these, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find them in the game. I plan to go hunting for them immediately after I'm done with this video. But first of all, No Retreat, what it says is when attacking an enemy with a skill, it consumes all of your shields to deal additional damage based on the amount of damage dealt. The additional damage starts at a base of 8.5% and increases up to 4% based on the amount of shield consumed. Max shield 10,000, so it doesn't help stacking past 10,000 shield. So there are some builds, for example, now where you can get up to 27, 29, 34k shield. This doesn't help for that. This will only take the first 10,000. After activation, restores shield equal to 1.5% of the max shield per second for 30 seconds. So the point here is, I think this would work really well in something like a Snipe Sharon, which already has a Transcendent mod which plays into this, which basically as soon as you come out of your cloak, it consumes some of your shield to give it an increased damage snipe. This would play alongside that. I think the two effects can probably stack. Definitely will be testing that, but this is a really cool mod. I really like this. I like the idea of that you basically take the shot, it actually takes some of your shield away, so you're a little bit vulnerable, but you're dealing like a huge amount of damage, and then it actually get you some of that shield back. So pretty cool mod. We'll definitely be looking to test that a bit. The second one is Biosync Shield. This says that it converts 17.5% of the health recovered from health orb acquisition into shield recovery. This is fucking dope. This means that like you are running around in a fight, and this has always been my biggest problem with shield, is unlike HP, which you can actually find stuff as you kill enemies that basically give you more HP back, you don't have the same thing with shield. And if you're constantly under fire with shield, your shields will never regenerate. That's how shields work. This is different though. Biosync shield will then basically let you have some shield regen alongside HP regen when you pick up health orbs. This is really good, and I think this is a fantastic mod for instance, that we know in October 10th we're going to start getting 400% dungeons, 400% infiltrations that we can do, and this is going to be a nice survivability mod that is going to let you get some HP back as you kill lots of mobs, which drop health pickups for you, but it's actually also going to give you some shield as well. So both of these mods really cool, great fucking additions to the game, great additions to survivability and being able to deal more damage. Then next up we have a quality of life change, which I think is a fucking W. Under UI UX, we will now see you can check recommended stats for each intercept battle. Those are the battles against the big enemies, void intercepts. Recommended stats include weapon DPS, max HP, max shield, defense, and resistance per attribute. This is really good because the point is, a lot of the times, and this is not going to stop players from doing this, but it might educate them a little bit more and give them some more information before they attempt a fight against the void intercept boss. So previously, of course, if you went to this screen here, like the Devourer, this was all that you saw, was weak point damage, the attack attribute and the attribute resistances, and then it had this text underneath here. This shit is brand fucking new. So this basically tells you what your DPS should be, what your HP, max shield, defense, and so on should be. And this gives you a good indication of whether you are capable of fighting this boss. What I do also like is the fact that it has this checkout recommended modules button here, which basically if you click on that, let's see what happens. It's going to crash my game. No, if you click on that, then it actually takes you outside of the game into like some kind of like a web interface where you can choose the Descendant that you want to check. And you can say the weapon, and like we can say, okay, cool, I want to use Nazastras, and then we can say we're playing on hard, and we want to fight the Devourer, and we can say search, and click search on info to check recommended modules. That's what I did, father. Okay. Oh, search period, entire period. There we go. Okay. So then it's actually going to give you some examples of builds and stuff and how you can set it up. Now, these are not great, but to somebody that has no experience whatsoever and is walking into this entire experience for the first time, basically they made it up to this point here. They haven't looked at any videos online or anything like that. They're just trying to do it themselves. It is a really good addition. It's basically the same as the fact that we have inside the game, we have built in like this shit that tells you everything that you need to do. Like if you want to know where a weapon is, everything like that, you can just go on here and go, okay, cool, I gotta go here to go farm that. It's a fucking great addition to something that you have in the game that has all of the information in the game, and technically speaking, you don't need to go out of the game. Of course, you can go watch guides, you can go do stuff like that, but this is going to give you all of the information that you need. And I think that this addition here, I think this is huge, right? Like if we look at Gluttony, we can see, okay, cool here, DPS 450, and then giving you some fairly decent stats here, like, yo, my guy, 17,000 HP and 55,000 defense. Fucking okay, let's fucking go. But yeah, so that's the thing. I think it's obviously, like I said, this doesn't stop you from queuing, right? You can look behind my face here. I can still queue for the shit whether I have the stats or not, but it is, I think, taking us towards a place where we have more information available to the average player that lets them know whether, you know, like they could go into this fight and then fail and go like, why the fuck was that so hard? What's going on? And then they can look at this and go, oh shit, I'm super below on like all 5 of these things, and I need to go back and I need to go farm a little bit more and do stuff like that. So I think that's really good. Then the next one is just boy oh boy, I'm so excited for this. So you can now set whether to run or sprint by default for movement in game options. This is, I mean, you once you have this, it feels weird that you lived in a world where this didn't exist before. But if you go to options, if you go to gameplay and you scroll all the way down to here, you can now see previously you only had sprint, control, toggle, and hold. Now we have default movement method, run or sprint. So obviously you want to be setting that to sprint. There's factually no reason to ever run in this game. You always fucking want to be sprinting. So switch this on as soon as possible and don't look back. Then we have another pretty insane one. You now have the ability to actually rewatch cinematics in the game, Why is this a big deal? Well, the first time you play through the game, you'll be seeing all of these cinematics for the first time, and it'll be with one of those 3 characters that you pretty much, picked at the start, unless you went crazy and bought like a bunch of other Descendants right at the beginning. And again, this is not a big deal, but some people have been saying, well, I worked really hard on unlocking Ultimate Bunny, and I would have liked to see what Ultimate Bunny looks like in those cutscenes, because the fidelity of the cutscenes are really good. They're better than the models that you actually see in the game, just by default. And so the cutscenes are a great way for you to get some fucking cool screenshots of your character, something like that. I personally, as a content creator, love this because it makes me creating thumbnails and stuff like that for my videos like super easy. But yeah, this is something that you can choose to interact with or never ever fucking touch, but this is really a welcome thing. The fact that we can rewatch all of the cinematics in the game, you can do it with different characters, which will mean that you'll be able to see those models in all their glory. And it's quite easy to find. They call it these arc traces that you find all over the map now. So if you open up a map, you can look like, let's use Kingston as an example. If we go to, if we go here, you'll see there's a new icon here, arc trace. This shows you that there's a cinematic there that you can view. There's actually one in Albion as well, and it's right over here. So you'll see there's one here, arc trace, bam. So you can just walk up to it and you can trigger it. And basically, you can see there's actually quite a few in Albion, to be fair. But we can see here, like, Happy Birthday, for example, is the one that was for Bunny. This one is actually probably a bad one to pick because you have to be Bunny in that cinematic. But if I go to, like, Wavering HQ, let's see what happens here. So now it's actually going to show the Descendant that you currently have equipped. So I currently have Esiemo equipped, and Esiemo was standing in the background there counting his teeth. So yeah, I think this is really cool. Like I said, it's a great way to, there I am standing there in all my glory. But yeah, it's a great way to view your ultimate Descendants that you've spent so much time and possibly money unlocking. And yeah, it's just a great little quality of life thing. I dig it. Then we have a big one, and that is that there's actually an event going on right now and going all the way until the end of October. It's basically called the Freyna's Encrypted Vault Shop event. You can see it at the bottom here, and there's a link here that you can click, and basically what that link does is it takes you to a site where you have to log in. Now bear in mind, all of this is happening outside of the game, so you are going to have to do this to benefit from the event and be able to do the things and unlock the things that you can with the event, and that's going to require you to do a few things. First and foremost, my advice to you is the following. Let me just get back to my game here quickly, if I can. This is me. Okay, my advice to you is the following. Consider going in the game and linking your account. Okay, I would say this is a really good idea to link it to your Nexon account over here. And basically what that does is it gives you an easy way to log in, all right, and to basically get to this event. But if we go to the website here, and I can just quickly go back there again, when you click on this link at the bottom here, it's going to open up the event page, and the event page looks something like this, and you'll log in. Now you can of course log in with your Steam and with your PlayStation and with your Xbox, so those are options that are available to you, but the easiest is just to link your Nexon account. At least it was for me. What that does is then you get this website here, and you can see that the period that this event runs, it starts on the 26th of September, which is today, and it runs until October the 30th. All right. And what it is there's tasks that you can do every day, and there's weekly tasks that you can do, and these tasks give you points. Like I've earned 3 points already. You can then in turn use these points to buy items for yourself for the game, and these items are actually all pretty damn good. So for example, what you can look at in terms of the missions is you can see that the missions are pretty standard fare. So log into the game gives you a point, complete 4 missions gives you a point, research 1 item gives you a point, and these change every fucking day. So you can make 5 points every day, okay? And then we have some weekly missions as well, and basically these give you 10 points, and you can do 2 of these per week as well. Now, bearing in mind that how long the event runs for, which is pretty much like 5 weeks, and looking at how many points we can make from this, the maximum amount of points that you can make for the entire duration of the event is 275 points. It's easy to work out. You've got 5 weeks, so it's 20 times 5 is 100, and then you've got 5 tasks per week. There's 5 weeks as well, which is 35 times 5 is 175, so there's your 275. Okay, this is important for you to know because you should plan what you want to spend those points on, because there are more items in the shop than the 275 points which you're going to accumulate. But this is what the shop looks like. So the shop has crystallization catalyst in, for example, for 40 points, and then some of these other upgrade materials here. And then this one is the big one. This shop has weapon materials in for 20 points a weapon material. Sorry, I had to quickly change something. I have a mod on my browser that automatically makes it dark in the background. That was actually fucking around with this website, so we're back. But the point is, as I was saying, this is pretty damn cool because there are some weapons that you can actually then buy the pieces of. This might have more weapons. This might cycle. It's unclear to us right now, but at the moment right now, there are 10 weapons available that you can get pieces of for that you can buy. So let's say, for example, you've been struggling your ass off to get the weapon blueprint to drop for Greg's Reverse Fate. You can swap 20 points and boom, you can get that. And I think that's pretty fucking sick. If you accumulate all 275 points, that is basically, what is it, 5, 10, 13? You can get 13 pieces basically unlocked just by playing this event. And the only thing you have to do is do the things that you already do in the game, which is just play like normal. So this will be a nice little way to supplement any, stuff that you were missing. But then we also have boosts and things like that. We can just buy flat out like 200k for 1 point. This is fucking sick. If you're struggling with money in the game, which trust me, you shouldn't be, because you should definitely be doing the invasions. But if you are, this means that every 1 point can be exchanged for 200k gold, and this can be done infinitely, which is sick. And by the way, you can notice that some of these allow you to only do 2 exchanges. So you can see there, some have a limited quantity, like in total for the entire event, you can only seemingly buy 3 crystallization catalysts, then it caps out. Whereas, like, for example, the gold is unlimited, right? Then we also have some Kuiper, and then also you have some code breakers. This is kind of cool, but again, limited quantities here, right? It's unknown to me whether this would refresh weekly. Maybe the shop refreshes its quantities, and for example, maybe like the weapons that you can pick from here weekly would be cool if it did. I am not too hopeful, but that's basically this event in a nutshell. So go ahead, register for your Nexon ID, link it to your game, or otherwise just use your Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation thing to log in, link your account, and then basically start grinding these out, get these points, and buy yourself some, I would say, free shit. I mean, it's not free, you're going to be spending time doing it, but this is pretty cool. And then last but not least, before I let you go from this extremely long video already, unfortunately, they've gutted our boy a little bit. So Kingsguard Lance has been really good last couple of days since the patch came out that basically, kind of like buffed it. One of the reasons why it was as good as it was the fact that there was a module called Lethal Finish, which was basically making you crit like all the time. So you can see here that this has been fixed now. The effect of Lethal Finish module is now properly applied per cooldown when attacking on enemy with the Guardian Lance of Kingsguard Lance, which means that previously how it worked, so let me explain quickly. Previously how it worked with Kingsguard Lance is what you would do, and you can see here, if I go here and I go Descendant, not Descendant module. Yo, what am I doing? If you go here, you can see I have Lethal Finish on here. And basically how it was working was Lethal Finish would snapshot its effect onto a lance when you put it down. So when you put it down the first time, it would snapshot this 60% critical hit rate increase. And then your Guardian Lance, the one that you put down with this effect active, would just be critting the entire fucking time, like non-stop, because you'd basically be having like 80 or 90% crit rate. And then you'd wait 15 seconds and put down another lance, or put down another lance and wait 15 seconds. And then after that, the new lance would also get this effect. So eventually you could have 3 Guardian Lances up that pretty much just crit all the time. Unfortunately, the gun doesn't work that way anymore. So when I put it down now, what you'll notice is that you'll see every 15 seconds, there will be a slight spike where you will see some additional damage, like it'll crit like 3 or 4 times in a row. But then there you go, boom, boom, boom. You saw the little crits coming up there, but then you'll see that there's a healthy amount of just normal damage numbers going there, because this effect in fact does not work this way anymore now, and this snapshot effect is gone. Now, it's okay. We kind of like knew that something weird was going on with Lethal Finish. This was the general point. There's a couple of funny things going on with Kingsguard Lance in any case, like for example, certain mods that you have on your Descendant can also make certain mods on Kingsguard Lance malfunction, like Dangerous Ambush, for example. But yeah, the point is Lethal Finish now does not do anymore what it did before, and it's possible that now it might be better to actually use something else, like for example, maybe Toxic Conductor or something like that, or any of the other ones. We still need to see if Sharp Precision Shot and all of these other ones still actually also snapshot onto the lances, but that just requires a lot more upkeep than Lethal Finish, which is one of the reasons why Lethal Finish was so popular. Basically, it was like fire and forget. You'd put the shit down, and you'd be done and dusted. And that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Like I said, a lot more going on in that patch. I'll put the link to the patch notes in the description of this video if you'd like to go through it yourself. But I think I've pretty much captured all of the really like, oh wow shit that basically is in there. We're pretty much 2 weeks away from the October 10th patch now, and you can see that things are starting to fall into place now. So super awesome. Looking forward to playing that Freyna event. Gotta get those fucking points so I can buy stuff from that shop. Let's go, baby. Let me know in the comments down below what you are looking forward to most as we are going towards this October 10th patch. I think most people just want Ultimate Freyna. I'm looking forward to the new merchant we get that will allow us to actually put some of our materials, our copied materials, our duplicate materials rather, our additional materials that we've picked up that we have nothing to do with. We'll be able to change that in with this vendor for a currency and then use that currency to buy some stuff for the vendor. So super excited for that. Other than that, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Till next video, fucking cheers.